Welcome to Rainbow Soul Vodcast, where our Soulstrology comes forward to help you manage your everyday life, with forecasts and deep dives on natal charts and queer perspectives on the planets, transits, and more. A group discussion about upcoming transits with tips on how to read these transits in your own chart. Hollis offers years of wisdom and natal chart knowledge with Bright Hawk's positive perspective and Lacrosse's inquiry. We offer the complete queer astrology experience. Welcome to Rainbow Soul. Please help us by subscribing, sharing, and commenting and reviewing. You can also learn where else Rainbow Soul is offered on our website at rainbowsoul.show.
Welcome. I'm Hollis Taylor, and I'm here with you back from heart surgery. Yes, I survived, and I have a little oxygen just because I live at 9,000 feet. If you know anything about altitude, living at 9,000 feet, well, it's challenging on the lungs, and so is heart surgery. So I just have to wear the oxygen a little bit, okay? Especially if I'm going to talk. So, but I'm perfectly okay. I can walk. I walk every day, 2,500 plus steps, and everything's okay. My heart's good, okay? So everything turned out really great. And just to relieve that right away, okay? And I am an astrologer, so if you're tuning in and you're new, I'm one of the astrologers here, and you can get an astrology reading with me at divineandrogen.com. And
hi there, I'm Bright Hawk, author, artist, astrologer, storyteller, musician, and you can learn more about me and order my book, The Dancing Hippo.
They can also find your new Etsy store. And
I have a new Etsy store, you guys. That's right. I make crystal grids that are really pretty fun in sacred geometry.
So you put your crystals on there, and then you can kind of focus your energy.
There's two sides to each one. You can learn all about it at Bright Hawk Art at Etsy. And
you could just go to brighthawkproductions.com, and there's a link to the Etsy
That's the
store.
Easiest way to do it for sure.
Yeah.
And
Hi, I'm Lacrosse Ortiz. I am the creator of the Fool's Journey Color Journal. Still haven't finished the series. I'm working on it. Was hoping to get it done by September, but yeah, busy. And you can find me on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok.
Okay, awesome. Well, I'm so glad everybody's here. I'm so glad that you're joining us today. I want to invite you to take a little break, take a minute to ground yourself. Put your feet on the floor. Feel your bottom in the chair. And take a few deep breaths and center yourself. And as you find yourself centered in yourself, close your eyes if you can, and I invite you to take a little walk under the night sky, the stars shining beautiful bright. They seem to sparkle forever. The stars just seem to go on and on and on, like there's no end, and there's layer upon layer. And on one side of you is glowing full and bright. The full moon has just passed. supermoon, so it's kind of close and big. And you can feel it pulling on you. And as you stare at the moon and all of its texture and colors that seem to glow out of it, you can almost feel it pulling on you. I mean, you are mostly made of water, and the moon and water are deeply connected. And as the moon speaks to your waters within your body, you can hear and feel your intuition, your centered self, and your deep connection to the earth and the moon, and how the earth and the moon are connected. I invite you to just allow those beautiful glowing lights of the moon to shine through and bless you with awareness, with connection, and with depth. Return to our here and now. Always remember that you are deeply connected to the moon. A constant reminder for all of us. We are as connected to the moon as we are the earth. Come back into your seat. Feel your bottom on your seat and your feet on the floor. And feel the calm on your body. Take a few deep breaths and come back here to the present. Wiggle your fingers and your toes. Take a few deep breaths, open your eyes, and come back to the here and now.
Welcome back.
Woohoo! Well done. Good job, Right Hawk.
A little flourish there at the end.
That's all good.
Oh, it's fun.
It's all good. Especially with the moon. You gotta follow whatever your intuition says.
Yes, and I'm wearing my shirt with the moon. The dancing hippo is all about the dancing under the full moon, being your bliss, enjoying being your most authentic self and letting yourself shine.
Yeah.
Like the moon.
I think it's, one of the things that I do in coaching is that people that have strong Cancer placements or Pisces placements, or if they have a strong moon in their chart, I always tell them to keep a moon calendar, because a lot of the times, like, whatever's going on with you, it came from the moon.
Yeah.
It's like it's connected to the moon. So like even if you're not any of those placements or you don't know, I would still suggest that keep a moon calendar. Like just, maybe there's lots of free apps that will tell you where the moon is and what phase it's in, and it does matter how close the moon is to the earth. And we know that the moon and the tides are connected, and we are like whatever 78% water or something. And I don't know, it just seems to me like we're connected to the moon. Lacrosse, did they ever like have any moon connection to the indigenous people? I'm sure.
Oh, I know our tribe did. Maroya is the moon avatar, or the representation of the moon. And there's plenty of like stories and things like that. I think one of them is where the sun and her keep passing because they use feminine for the moon, and how they constantly keep passing. They love each other, but the sun and the moon are always missing each other, and only once in a while, hence the eclipse, is when they get to be together. But that's a story I actually found out that are in multiple cultures, not just the Taino.
Oh, really?
So yeah, it's pretty interesting.
Don't you
But
ever wonder, like maybe the indigenous people, like Taino people, were trading maybe with somebody like the Mayans or something, and they traded stories, and so
oh,
then
absolutely.
and then the stories kind of grew with each storyteller that carries it back to another tribe,
Absolutely.
and so
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure that happened,
yeah. Well, the
and
Tainos were great explorers. They actually found petroglyphs in New York that are Taino. So
Oh,
they would go up and down the coast. They would go to like we got our bade we got from I think it's the Mayan and Aztec, I'm not sure. But that's like where the soccer game, it's kind of like a soccer game that they would play, and I don't remember, or it could be Incan. I don't remember, but I know we got that from them. We have multiple ones from different cultures. The Cherokee call us cousins. So it's pretty cool because they found, like I said, petroglyphs in Georgia, petroglyphs in New York, in a cave in
wow,
New York, and of all places. So
wow, in a cave
yeah,
because
it,
maybe they went in there because it was safe.
yeah.
I mean,
Well, we
there's
believe we came from a cave.
okay.
So caves are like going, which is true. We did come from a
Yeah,
cave.
it is.
So
Yeah.
they find a lot of comfort. They would find comfort in being in the cave. So
Interesting.
mhm,
Yeah, and I just wanted to say, that the moon is
yeah,
super super affects all of us, and different cultures see it differently, but I think everybody agrees that we're connected to the moon.
yeah.
So, yeah. So Bright Hawk, I bet you have a lot to tell us about the moon.
oh, I have lots to say, period, about lots of things. So I'm trying to pick it wisely. I think one of the things about astrology and the sky and the sun and the moon is we all experience it. Everybody has it. Everybody is experiencing the sky, no matter where you are, no matter what's happening, no matter what your placements are. We're all experiencing it. The cool thing about astrology and knowing your chart is knowing how it's aspecting, how it's speaking to you, your soul purpose, your soul journey, and the relevance of that. And and I feel like the sun and the moon obviously are the fastest movers in the sky that we experience very quickly, very relevantly every day. The moon moves 2.5 signs, uh, sorry, 2.5 days. Every 2.5 days, it changes signs.
Changes
What
signs.
changes zodiac signs is what I'm trying to say. Whereas, of course, the sun is in a zodiac sign for about 30 days. So the 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 experiencing what we all are experiencing right now, which is a waning phase of the moon. We had the full moon on Friday. Now it's waning. We're all experiencing that shedding. Interesting that the New York City floods in Brooklyn and and the East Coast, all of that happened high tide, full harvest moon. So I don't know if it was made worse by that, but I wouldn't be surprised. And you've got Saturn in Pisces for a long time, which is constantly are talking about how it's not a strong placement for Saturn in Pisces. Saturn is all about structures. Pisces is all about water. What are we seeing? Flooding all over the place, all over the place. So
yeah, and usually in a karmic way. Yeah,
so
usually in a karmic way.
yeah, some of this
Saturn's very karmic, so if you're in your Saturn returns, you should know that's kind of what it does. That's so so if you listen, a lot of times Saturn will give you lots of warning ahead of time. It'll knock on your door, knock on your window, and say, "Hello, did you do this?" And if you didn't do it, it's probably not going to be great.
it can bring some great rewards if you are doing your work, and if you're not doing your work and you know you're not doing, you're not getting to the things you committed deep inside too. It doesn't have to be what you've committed to anyone else. It's really about what you've committed to you. You know you came here with a purpose and a reason, and you matter, and your life is significant. And the goal for each of us is to live that. Live your purpose. Live your life the way you committed to before you even came here. That's what I think.
Absolutely. And
so happy birthday, Libras. We're talking about October 2nd to the 8th. Happy birthday, Libra friend. Lacrosse is our favorite Libra.
And yeah, and I'll tell you, Libra season is cardinal. So if you start feeling pushed to get things done,
cardinal
air.
Cardinal air.
So if you start feeling pushed to get things done, cardinal means in astrology means you're the first one. You take off, and it's the beginning of the season. So cardinal signs, all the cardinal signs tend to.
So they happen after equinox, after solstice. Those are the 4 big ones of the year.
They tend to be the leaders.
So the Libras.
They tend to be not just
Aries and Leo. Yeah, Leo. Okay.
I think. Yep.
Yeah, those are the cardinals.
So, and what usually ends up happening is that the cardinal signs, they tend to kind of take off faster. It doesn't mean that they're better. It just means that they take off faster. Not always good. Okay. But it is. Mutable, well, mutable is a little bit more like swing back and forth and can do either one. And that's that's the middle of the season. It can kind of go
the
forward.
End of the season, mutable.
Okay.
Sagittarius.
And then fixed is
those are the end.
Right.
Well, I guess it goes.
I thought it was cardinal, mutable, fixed.
Fixed, mutable. Cardinal, fixed, mutable. That's what it does.
Okay.
So you go Aries is the cardinal.
Yeah, because Taurus is
fixed.
Gemini
is mutable.
Okay.
And Sagittarius is mutable, opposite Gemini.
So the fixed signs, they tend to kind of go kicking and screaming. They may delay what they're doing. It's not necessarily because they're slow or dumb or whatever judgment you want to put on it. It's actually usually from a level of hesitation. Okay? It's a level of I don't know if I want to do this. I don't know if I should do this. I'm not sure. I'm sometimes fear, and sometimes some other hesitation. And sometimes fixed signs are also, they'll be the most loyal in all of the zodiac. They'll be the most loyal out of all of them. So, okay. So, and it starts with Aries. Aries is is the first cardinal sign. But Libra is a cardinal sign. And
the last full moon was a full moon in Aries.
which is opposite of Libra.
Yeah.
I now felt it.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of people did. Big
Yeah.
energy.
A lot of people felt it, and and the thing is that it can make things go kind of fast, which I guess is probably what happened in New York City, right? We had a big flood, and so some things there. Now, during this time, Neptune will be opposite of Mercury, so Neptune is like, it's down there in Pisces, which is its ruling sign, and so that's a lot of illusions and like dreams, and Neptune's harder to hold on to, just like water. And so it can sometimes leave you with this feeling of not understanding it, and it's just because it's like water. So it feels like dreams and things that are hard to hold on to. Okay? And visions and illusions. And it's opposite Mercury in Virgo. And Virgo is the opposite of that. It is the opposite of Pisces, where you feel like you can't hold on to it because it's an earth sign. And so with Mercury opposite of it, you might feel like you can't say, you're having a hard time expressing yourself, or like you'll be expressing yourself okay, but you're not sure if you really conveyed what you have to say about your heart, in your heart, or your emotions or whatever. So it could feel like those kinds of things are happening. And I wanted to point out that the North Node is pretty intense, that the North Node is intensely across the sky from Mars. And that'll be going on this week. The thing about that is that Mars is action and the North Node is where you're going, but they're opposite of each other. And so with the North Node in Aries, it's like you think you're supposed to go this way, but your action is taking you somewhere else. So if you find yourself not following through, not doing what you're supposed to do, or something like that, or like me, I cheated on my water restriction like those kinds of things. If you find yourself doing that, that's what's going on. Mars is opposite the North Node. Okay, like you want to go this way, but you're doing the opposite thing. Okay. Now, but there is a grand trine, a kite in the sky, and a grand trine in Earth. And so the grand trine is in Earth with Mercury and the Moon.
Yep.
And Uranus, which are conjunct, and Pluto in Capricorn. So it's a grand trine, and there's also a kite with Neptune. And so it's positive. So if you have something to learn or whatever, that's what's going on. And the South Node is sextiling Juno and Venus. So Juno and Venus are very much about commitment and relationship. So you could be easily finding like, oh, whatever happened last week with your partner, you've let it go, or that you just find some sort of peace in relationship. Okay. So those are the main aspects of this week.
Well, in terms of the moon, we've been talking about last Friday's full moon. Of course, that makes it a waning gibbous moon. And now the moon is currently in Taurus, and it's exalted in Taurus. The moon likes being in Taurus. It's trustworthy. Moon in Taurus is very determined, as you can think of the bull as, very affectionate, very artistic. Remember, Taurus is ruled by Venus. So there's that artistic love of fine things, love of beauty. On the other side of Taurus, the challenge of a Taurus moon can be obstinance, stubbornness, fixedness. We talked about it at the beginning, rigidity. But the moon loves being in Taurus and is exalted. And so The positive aspects of the moon are this trine with Mercury and Pluto, and of course it's conjuncting Uranus. So the challenging sides of the moon is that it's in a square to Venus and it's answering to Venus. So it's definitely in a conversation about what's going on with our relationships, what's calling to our attention. The moon is going to have to answer to Venus in Leo, and Venus in Leo is finally back where it was when it went retrograde, like at the end of summer, so long ago. So if stuff was going on back then, it may be revisited. But at the same time, it's a conversation. So it's with both Venus and, of course, Juno, because they're together down there, and Lilith. So you have all of those female representations. And how's the do you have a female boss? How's that conversation going? I don't know. But with the trine to Mercury, hopefully it's balanced out. And trines means that it stays in the same element, right?
Well, if it's a grand trine.
Right.
Yeah.
So all the elements of all the points of the trine are in earth signs.
And it looks like Venus and stuff is at a tip of a kite there. You can see it's a really light grand trine in the background in water. But then the tip of the kite there in Leo, Venus in Leo. And it's almost conjunct Lilith and conjunct Juno.
Yeah.
So, and they're in Leo. And Leo is very noble. And so I wouldn't be surprised if, you've moved past whatever you had going on with your relationships. And maybe you're seeing good behavior. Maybe you're seeing noble behavior. Loyalty will be coming up. And, it's going to depend on where it is in your chart, how it plays out. But with Lilith there, it's going to add a level of independence as well. So loyalty and independence, which, they can go together. So, I think it's a pretty good, aspect because it's part of the grand trine. So I think it's like, relationship stuff, if you had stuff like that going on. Okay. So anyway, so I think it's a positive aspect. So whatever you got going on with relationships or whatever is probably ended, and you should be moving off into better waters as far as relationships, love goes. And, if you're not in relationship, pay attention to your other relationships. Like if you're not in a love relationship, be looking at your friendships, and other relationships, especially with women or feminine expressing people. It doesn't just have to be like a cisgender woman. Could absolutely be trans women, and people that are expressing feminine. So like if you have a drag queen friend and your relationship with her got smoother during this time, same thing, you see. So it's because she's expressing in a feminine way. Okay. And okay. So on the next day, Tuesday, Pluto is trine Mercury, which I think is really good because you'll finally be able to speak. Remember, I said that yesterday you might have some trouble expressing exactly what's in your heart. But then once Pluto is trining Mercury, that's going to be a lot about expressing yourself, and it's a positive aspect. So it's going to be an easy conversation. You're going to be able to say what you need to say, and it's going to make it a little bit easier for things to be expressed in words. Now Saturn is opposite Lilith and Venus. So Saturn could be asking you if you're truly doing the right thing for yourself, if you're taking care of yourself, especially in your relationships with men or masculine people, especially more sacred masculine people, not toxic, more the sacred masculine people in your life, and then also with the system. So, like, if you have anything going on with the system, you know, and that includes the medical field, right? So, anything like that, Saturn's going to just challenge you a little bit with your relationship with them. Okay. And that could look like a lot of different things, especially with Venus and Lilith involved. Venus is about love and financial things and about physical, physical stuff. But Lilith is about independence. Okay. So material things and Lilith opposite Saturn in Pisces. And Saturn is going to be Saturn's going to be a little bit strong because just because of that aspect, it's going to pull down on it. It's a little bit more expressed, I guess. And so Saturn's just going to make it a little bit, the system is going to be challenging somehow. And there's a yod pointing to Neptune, which is really great. So that's spiritual. Now it's coming from relationships, and even if you're on stage with Venus and Leo, always makes me think of somebody on stage. And so Venus and Leo, relationships on stage, also with Mars and Libra, even though Mars is opposite the North Node right now, it's also going to be part of that yod. So whatever's happening, that's going to be very destined. You're not going to have a whole lot of control over it, but it could have a lot to do with like dreams or visions, or understanding them to a deeper degree, especially related to women on stage. And Neptune is going to be trining the part of fortune. So to me, that says that's a good thing, because like whatever you're visioning on Tuesday, so if you're like, I really need an extra $100 in my paycheck or something, okay, Tuesday's the day to do that, okay? Especially like if it has anything to do with family or like education or things that are related to Cancer, the zodiac sign Cancer, because the part of fortune's in Cancer, and since it's trining Neptune in Pisces, it if you have some sort of vision, and Neptune's very strong, and when Neptune is in a trine, it tends to make your visions come true. Okay, so that's a good.
Well, on this day, the moon is now moved into Gemini, and the moon is pretty happy in Gemini. It's a thinker moon. It's an active mind. I should say not thinker. I should say active mind. So the moon in Gemini is versatile and witty and charming. All the things Gemini is: lively, amusing, diplomatic, great networker. On the challenge side of a Gemini moon, there can be disorganization, inconsistency, wishy-washiness, superficial, cunning, manipulative. Gemini, two-faced, right? That can be the real challenge of a Gemini. It's like, whoa, two-faced. So the benefit side of a Gemini is they're great thinkers, and they are great at like seeing the situation and improving it. And getting everybody to get along, great party hosts, that kind of thing. Now, Gemini, of course, is ruled by Mercury, and so it answers to Mercury, and Mercury is currently in Virgo. So the moon is in it, there's not a ton of aspects for the moon this day. There's a trine with Pallas Athena. So that's great strategy. That's again, the conversation we've been having about the female energy and the preponderance of energies in Leo right now. So Pallas Athena's in a trine with the moon, and that's very positive. And you know, it's all pretty good right there.
Mm-hmm. There's also a mystic rectangle with the part of fortune and Neptune and Pluto and Mercury. So that's kind of I'm just gonna say it's watery and earthy, and so if some things start to come true, some change happens, it's gonna probably happen on Tuesday. Yeah. And okay, and so then Wednesday, the North Node is trining Venus. So the North Node is about our destiny. It's a very strong placement. The North Node right now is playing a lot of big parts. The nodes are actually playing some pretty big parts here in Aries and Libra. The North Node is in Aries and the South Node is in Libra. Okay, they're always opposite in the sky from each other. And so the North Node, the nodes are points related to the moon. And actually all planets have nodes, but the nodes are actually related to the moon. So so the North Node in Aries is trining Venus, Juno, and Lilith, which are kind of all hanging out there together in Leo. They're all conjunct, and the part of fortune is kind of approaching it. So there's something good happening. There's some goodness happening. There's some sort of way you're going, and things are coming together, which sounds great to me for healing. Okay, so if you're healing from something, I know I'm not the only one. For some reason, there's a whole bunch of people that had surgery around the time I did. And so I'm just gonna say, if you're healing from something or you had COVID or something, it's going to start getting better Tuesday, Wednesday. Okay. It's just going to keep getting better from there. Okay. And you're going to feel it. You're going to know it, and it's going to feel good. Okay. And if there was some relationship troubles you've been dealing with or anything else like that, things are going to start coming together. It's actually really positive. And the only thing is that Mars is opposite the North Node. So just be careful of your actions. Try not to sabotage yourself. That's what I'm trying to say. Mars sometimes can be a little sabotagey, okay? And it can be kind of toxic at times.
Check your impulsivity.
But Mars doesn't really like Libra. It doesn't like being in Libra because, Libra is ruled by Venus. So, and Mars is the opposite of that, opposite of love. It's the opposite of love. It's war. And so it's not really interested in, it's not as strong, I don't think, as the trine with Aries and Venus. Because I just feel like that's a stronger trine, and even that's stronger than the opposition. I don't think the opposition will throw us that much off because Mars is in its fall in Libra.
Well, the moon is very well aspected on this day. You're right. It's great for healing because the moon is obviously still in Gemini, and it's in a sextile to Juno, a sextile to Chiron, the healer, a sextile to the North Node. So you are very positive. You're very right. There's a lot of positive healing energy on this day. And I say blessings to one and all.
Everybody on the healing path, whatever you're healing from, just know that Tuesday, Wednesday, and onward are looking good for us. Okay. And that includes like healing from emotional stuff, relationships and stuff like that. Now there's a yod pointing at Lilith and Juno from Pluto and Neptune, which I thought was interesting because Pluto's about change and power, and Neptune is sometimes about illusions. So like right away when you start to put Neptune and Pluto together, I start to think narcissism, especially in Pisces or Capricorn, because Capricorn can sometimes be cold on its shadow side. Pisces on its shadow side can sometimes be victimish or manipulative, okay? In its shadow, okay? And every zodiac sign has shadow and light, okay? And we choose which one we engage in. We do. And but I'm just gonna say, if you were dealing with narcissism and it had something to do with a relationship, something's gonna probably happen on this day. So it could just be that they reach out to you and you stay no contact. It could be that they say something or do something that you're like, you are a fucking narcissist. Okay. And it could be something like that, you know. It just could be something simple as that. Like it just feels like, and it's gonna have a lot to do with the illusions of narcissism. Like because Pluto is about power and control. It's also about death and the other side.
Transformation.
And Neptune is also about spirituality, but it's also about illusions, and you could easily be under illusions. And since it's in a yod with Juno and Lilith, and even the part of fortune is approaching them. So that makes me think it's probably going to be good. It's probably going to be like you're gonna realize so and so's a narcissist, or get validation, or
well, because the moon is about to conjunct Vesta right there.
Yeah.
And that's going to speak to your values, right?
Uh-huh.
What are you loyal to? What do you value? And the moon is going to be also, yeah, right there.
And it's in Cancer.
It just came home, right? So it's home in Cancer, right. Conjunct Vesta. And but it is in a bit of a challenging conversation with Mercury. It's in a square to Mercury, so that conversation, but at the same time, and again, I would say these are really positive. I think there's a lot of good energy on this day. A trine to Saturn. The moon is trining Saturn, and it's trining Ceres.
Mm-hmm.
And Ceres is about what are you nurturing in this world, giving birth to, helping move along. So Ceres is like motherhood in some respects, but it doesn't have to be a physical baby. It can be what you take care of in this world.
Other things you manifest or take care of.
Yeah. So that's those are really positive. I think there's some really good energy that day. That feels very positive.
Yeah. And the North Node is still trining Lilith and Juno. So it makes me think like there could be like a hiccup in some sort of relationship or some sort of thing going on with you, but just know that it'll turn out all right. Okay? So even if something kind of goes wrong a little bit on this day, you can just know that it will turn out.
Cool.
And now that yod will continue into the next day, which is what, like Saturday?
We're up to the 6th, I think is a Friday.
Okay.
Moon in Cancer. It's the last quarter moon. By the way, I didn't say the aspects of Cancer moon. Obviously, the moon is at home in Cancer. The moon rules that house, that sign, I mean. And Cancer is, a Cancerian moon is imaginative, sympathetic. Think about the crab is always at home, right? Protective, tenacious, loyal, very loyal. And then also think about the crab. It can be moody, could be possessive, could be critical, self-pitying, perhaps. So the moon in Cancer can be very emotional. It's very much about family, hearth, and home. Yeah, really likes to make sure everyone's taken care of, got everything you need. My experience of my father, who was a Cancer, was he had a very long runway. He had a lot of patience. But then at the end of his patience, it went very quickly.
Yeah, that's pretty true of Cancer altogether. Cancer, sometimes I'll say to them, so you'll all of a sudden be yelling and then you realize you're mad. And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, yeah, that's because it's Cancer. You're not really they're not as aware of their emotions. Their emotions just kind of come falling out, and then they're like, I'm mad, or I'm sad, or
Interesting.
whatever it is.
Yeah.
Cancer also, and I think it has a lot to do with, that's why we use the crab as the representation. It's got that hard shell on the outside. So Cancer tends to present in a particular way. And then all of a sudden, the emotions, they have a soft inside.
That's for sure.
So then the emotions come up, and then they're like, what? Now I'm sad, or I'm angry, or whatever. And now I have to deal with this emotion. They can usually deal with it, usually in a good way. They're very family oriented. So, they can usually, once they get to know themselves pretty well, they can usually manage it pretty well. But, so, Cancer, I noticed, I also noticed that people with Cancer placements are very, very smart people. They appreciate education.
Yes. They're usually very sharp minds.
Yeah, regardless of whether you're a Cancer sun, rising, or moon,
right?
You probably value education above all other things.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with that. So it's just kind of the way it is.
Well, on Friday, the aspects of the moon, because it's still in Cancer, but it's almost all squares. There's a sextile to Jupiter, so we can celebrate that. But everything that it was trining or sextiling before, it's now squaring. So it's squaring Chiron, it's squaring the sun, and it's in a T square, that T square. And
I noticed it's sextiling Jupiter, and that's pretty good.
Jupiter's big energy.
Yeah.
So in terms of positives, that's a big positive, not a little.
That's a pretty big positive there. And with Kronos, with the moon there.
What is Kronos about?
Kronos is a god, and you can read about it online, but Kronos usually represents high things. Can also be about like education, so higher education,
okay.
or even things like Kronos was in a interesting placement and interesting trine when humans figured out how to fly.
Oh.
When the airplanes were invented.
Well, so if you're a kid and having a test on this day, maybe you'll do well.
Yeah, so it has a lot to do with things up high, literally, like airplanes.
A student.
Like airplanes and things like that. But it could also have a lot to do with like education and higher thinking and being a master at something.
Nice.
Being a master at something. So it's conjunct the moon and it's sextiling Jupiter.
So
that's a pretty good thing. And so if you're flying on this day, it's a great day to fly. So that's why I keep it there. Kronos. I appreciate it. It's a good day. It's a good sign for experts and for flying. So if you fly, you want to pay attention to Kronos. Pay attention to how it's being aspected at any time.
All right, the weekend.
Yeah.
We have a waning crescent moon that's now void in Cancer. It's going to be going into Leo, but not there yet. Probably during the night. And we're a little bit challenging here. We're opposite Pluto. Squaring Mars, squaring the North Node, in a trine to Neptune, and that all forms a Grand Cross.
I see it's opposite Pluto there.
Yeah, you see Grand Cross. Now, Grand Crosses they can be challenging because it's two oppositions, and it's this or that.
Right. And if you have the moon with Pluto, that makes me think about emotions and intuition and stuff like that versus power and control.
Yeah.
So right away, like you start to think about somebody controlling your emotions.
Right.
Okay. And that kind of going back and forth. So I would be careful about that on this day. Try not to control your own emotions. That's probably not a smart thing to do. You have to allow your emotions to flow. I was in a group and someone said, something like, they're clearly having a dark night of the soul. And they were like, does the suffering and the pain ever end? And that kind of thing. And I said, it does. And then, she asked, how do you stop it from hurting? And I said, you don't. You don't. You allow it to hurt. You allow it to flow. And then you embrace it. And so what does that look like? Well, it's going to depend on what it is. But if you've had a heartbreak or you've lost someone or something like that, then I'm going to say just allow yourself to cry. Allow yourself to be angry. Punch a pillow. Allow the emotions to come up in a safe way. It is possible. They won't kill you, I promise. They're only emotions. And the thing about emotions is they only last actually about 5 to 10 seconds. And it's what we react to afterwards that is the problem. Okay? And that's where problems begin. But most of the time, if we just allow an emotion to come up, it will come up. And, maybe you've had this happen, you've lost somebody, and then let's say they died, and you cry for just a couple of minutes, and then you find yourself with a tissue and you're wiping your face and you're moving past it because the emotion has come and passed. Okay. And so that's what you want to allow to happen. Allow the pain to come. Just try to express it in a healthy way. Don't hurt yourself or others. And, even if that means you got to punch a pillow, listen to loud music or write nasty words on a piece of paper, who cares? Or cry your eyes out. Allow the emotion to come through. And then that's how you embrace it. And then you'll be able to walk into the light so much easier. But you have to allow the emotion. And this is what I'm always talking about in coaching is that if you don't allow the emotion and you're constantly trying to stop it, you're probably not going to get over it. It's going to keep doing it. So I'd say with Pluto and the moon,
they say gotta feel it to heal it.
Yeah, you gotta feel it. You gotta let those emotions come up. So just whatever comes up on the weekend, just allow it.
And know that if it's coming up, it's because now you can handle it. And you can breathe and experience it, and it's not going to kill you. It's just an emotion. And maybe you could ask yourself, I wonder what I'm supposed to learn from this. Because we don't suffer for nothing. I really believe that. We do not suffer for nothing. We go through shit, we learn stuff, and then we move on. And we are hopefully better for the experience. Because that's what happens. It'd be lovely if it happened when we were all comfortable, but it never does. Which is why, I've had teachers say comfort is the death of growth. Like don't be comfortable.
And a lot of times we make our suffering worse,
Yeah.
We make it way worse. And so, be careful about what you think and say and, just.
And then it's really interesting to listen or read about the stuff that Joe Dispenza's been talking about careful about noticing what your emotional historical cycle is. Are you always looking for something to be wrong, to be mad at, to blame, to whatever? Yeah. Because then those emotions become a chemical cascade that we become addicted to. So then at every morning or every evening or every whatever, whenever it is that you get triggered or want, suddenly your body's like, okay, it's time to get mad because that's what we do, and we're off to the races on a habit or a routine.
You can be addicted to anger as much as you can be addicted to drugs and alcohol.
I completely agree. I've seen it with my own eyes.
Mm-hmm.
So good to pay attention, good to decide how you want to be,
Right.
who you want to be in this world.
Right.
So are we on Sunday the 8th?
Yeah, the moon is in Leo.
Leo, yeah. So the moon is in Leo, and it's in a sextile to Pallas Athena and a sextile to Mercury, which is great. A little bit on the challenge side, we're going to be a square to Ceres, a T-square to Ceres and Jupiter, a square to Jupiter, and a trine to Chiron. So when the moon is in Leo, Leo is ruled by the sun. So the moon is answering to the sun, and the sun is in Libra. So the moon in Leo is about celebrating the finer things in life, and is affectionate, loves to be significant, great at being exuberant, and very, over the top, creative, broad-minded, likes to, be very colorful, fun-loving. A Leo moon can also have some self-indulgence, some arrogance, some self-centeredness or conceitedness. The shadow side of Leo is definitely a bully and overbearing. So let's stick to the positive sides of Leo if we could for a minute. It's very affectionate is what I think of. I think of the affectionate lion. And so in a trine to Chiron, that's super positive in terms of healing, good vibes, and the sextile to Pallas Athena, which is about strategy. Really great, very positive. And sextile to Mercury, so communication, very positive, very good. Challenging with Jupiter and Ceres. So that Ceres energy is how your projects are going. You might have to make some decisions. Jupiter's always going to amplify things, and in a square, it's going to also force you to make a decision. So that's Sunday.
The thing about Sunday is that Pluto is square Mars. And Mars is the god of war, right? And Pluto is about power and control.
That feels challenging.
So I'm just gonna say, let's hope the powers that be in our country and our world stay calm.
So Pluto is in Capricorn and Mars is in...
Yeah, that's what makes me think it has something to do with the war or something. Okay.
Okay, wow.
Pluto square Mars is not an easy aspect.
No.
It only happens for like a day or so. So this is Sunday, so Sunday, Monday. Hopefully nothing terrible will happen. Hopefully change will happen, which is the positive aspects of Pluto.
Right.
It kind of pushes you through change. But Mars is the god of war. And I would be paying attention to it right now if I was part of the Ukraine war in any way.
Right. That's exactly what I was thinking.
Right. And Mars also has a lot to do within our personal lives. Toxic men, arguments, anger, frustration, and it's squaring Pluto. So if you find yourself someone else angry or mad at you because you're not doing what they wanted you to do,
Oh boy.
or you pissed off at somebody for them not doing what you want them to do. Remember, we can't control each other. So that's a pretty strong aspect on that day. The other aspect that's pretty strong is the South Node in Libra is sextiling Juno and Lilith and Venus that are all conjunct in Leo. But that's about where we came from in old relationships, but related to Pluto. But Pluto is trining the part of fortune. So hopefully whatever does happen with Pluto and Mars, it's shooting us in the direction we need to go. Because part of fortune is sort of like where you're supposed to be going, where good things happen. and it's in Virgo, so it's very practical.
And we're coming up to eclipse season, my friends. We'll be talking about that next time. So that's something that to look forward to, because eclipse season is a coming.
Right.
Here we go.
Thank you. All right.
Do you have anything you want to add?
Well, I thought it was neat about Chronos, about flight, and we're in the season of the Raven. And there's one time I was at a gathering with an elder, and there were like different, it was like a gathering of different indigenous peoples from different tribes. And we started talking, and I had talked about the hollow bone. And this elder got so upset, angry. What do you know about the hollow bone? What do you know about the hollow bone? That's my tribe's teaching. That's what we, and I looked at him and I'm like, because where'd you learn it from? I said, well, the crow. The crow taught me. You know, I just studied the science behind it. And if anybody knows, the reason crows can fly is because their bones are hollow. Going back when I started seeing how all these like you know, you were saying about Mars and all that. And the reason we can't fly is because of the marrow. All the shit that we hold on to. So we can't take flight. So when you start thinking of anger and you start thinking of all these obstacles that come in your way, that's just marrow building up in your bones, making it harder for you to take flight. So I thought that kind of that kind of works pretty well with the crow and the raven. You know, if you want to take flight, get rid of the marrow, get rid of the anger, get rid of all the toxicity, including toxic people. Just get rid of all of that. So that way your soul can take flight. So that was just something I thought was pretty interesting.
Yeah, that's interesting. It's definitely how it goes. More you let go of, the more you move on, the more likely you're to fly through life, right?
And it was really nice because the elder came back and apologized and gave me a deer antler, which is really big honor because deers are the sign of humility and things like that. And yeah, it was a beautiful thing. So it all worked itself out. So just trust in the crow, trust in the raven.
Trust in the crow.
Beautiful.
Yeah, trust it.
Beautiful. All right. So now,
This week's reading.
yeah. So
Fascinating.
these are the tarot cards I pulled for this week. This is very much Venus in Leo.
Isn't it though? Look at that.
Nine of Pentacles, very much, like I said, performer. Venus, this is Nine of Pentacles. And this is clearly an image of a feminine person that looks like they're in front of a crowd or something. It gives very much the illusion of that. And it's about the illusion. It's about the performance. And it's also about the skills to do that. Okay, the resources to do that. And this is a reminder about your own performance. We all perform to some degree in our day-to-day life with people we love even, and with people we don't know for sure. We definitely have some performance. At work, you probably act different than you act with your friends. So, you know, and that's all because there's certain expectations, right? And so that's what this is a reminder of what mask are you wearing? What performance are you putting on? What are you performing? And it's interesting because the next card kind of reminds me of Pluto and Mars together.
Sure does. Wow.
Okay, so this is the Seven of Swords. This is very much about somebody not being very honest, somebody taking something that is not theirs, somebody being toxic, because I feel like swords are about thoughts, so it's not always about something physical that's being stolen. Sometimes it can be like toxic behavior around your thoughts, you know, manipulating your thoughts, because that's what this sailor is doing, right? He's taking swords that are not his, and in the cards, swords represent thoughts. And so he's manipulating the thought. Okay? So this card is very much about, if you think a person is toxic in your life, they probably are. Okay? And so just watch out on the days that I talked about that. And, sometimes we just have to not give into that energy, not engage. Some of the best ways to piss off a narcissist is to ignore them.
Oh.
Try it. It's hilarious. And so, I'm just saying, watch out for those toxic people in your life, especially those manipulating things, including your thoughts. And going forward in our future, which I think this is a great card to have after that. This is the Page of Swords. This is where we own our thoughts. We take our power back. This is where we stand in our power, and we do it in a very spiritual yet grounded way. In other words, we take our power back. This card is very much about taking your power back. It's very much about having your thoughts together, knowing exactly you're gaslighting me, and I know for sure. And that's what this is about. This is about you standing up for yourself and saying, that's not true, or you're gaslighting me, or whatever maybe you just ignore them. Could just be that simple. And, so remember, my friends, remember your performance. Remember the things you do to perform and the different faces that you wear and in all the different situations in your life. And going forward, beware of Pluto and Mars, of the controller, of the person manipulating thoughts or taking things that are not theirs. That's pretty much what this is about. But know that going forward, even if you do have a person like that, that you can take your power back. You have the power within you. It's in your hand. All you have to do is take it. And that's exactly what this card is. It's a reminder to take your power back.
Wow, what a cool reading. I'm always fascinated how the reading reflects and fills in, or,
reflects the reading
with the astrology.
With the astrology.
Weaves with the astrology. And the animal medicine as well. And it's always fascinating how it all seems to weave together.
Exactly.
It's a beautiful thing.
Fascinating stuff.
All right, my friends. Well, I hope you enjoyed this week's astrology. I'm sorry that it's a tiny bit on the later side. And
enjoy your week.
Enjoy your week. We'll get back
time.
on track. It's just probably because I had surgery. So we'll get back on track. And please like, share, or
Thumbs
comment, ask questions. We love you.
Yeah, let us know what's going on in your chart. If you have any questions, we'd love to know.
All right, my friends.
Have a good one.
Thank you for listening to this week's Soulstrology and subscribing, liking, sharing, and reviewing. We hope you enjoy this dose of Soulstrology and encourage you to embrace the week ahead with an open mind and heart so that you may integrate the deepest of lessons from the stars. Take a moment to step outside and honor the planets, stars, and moon in the sky with your heart. Integrate the messages that resonate and leave the rest for someone else. We deeply appreciate each and every one of you. Always remember that you are a perfectly unique human with an exclusive star map of your destiny, your soul purpose, and your heart's desire. Thank you again for tuning in to Rainbow Soul.